Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Poetry Collective Zoom reading. We're very happy and honored to have Saaleha read for us this evening. Saaleha, I think many of us know, is a renowned, well sought after photographer and writer based in Johannesburg. Her debut collection, Zikr, won the 2018 Ingrid Jonker Prize, which is a marvelous achievement, and I believe that she'll be reading from Zikr and from some more recent work. If you're joining us for the first time, our invited poet will read for about 40 minutes, and then we'll have a chance for some questions, some commentary, that sort of thing. Then we have a short break, and we open the mic. But all very free flowing and unpretentious, and hopefully we can just have, an opportunity for the soul to stir from something else other than what we're seeing happening outside. Thank you, Saaleha, for your time, for your presence. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity. You know, it's been a very long time since I've actually read any of my work out aloud. It's also been a long time since I've actually thought to write new stuff. I think when there's so much happening in the world, it sometimes becomes a lot to process. And even though it's a time where you need your writing to process, sometimes those same things that happen are the same things that kind of like stop you in your tracks a bit, and you kind of need something to push you out of that. So I'm hoping this reading, where I will be reading poems from Zikr, which is kind of like what I consider my greatest hits collection to date. But apart from this, I'll also be reading some newer pieces that I've actually managed to get out, and also some sort of works in progress. So these aren't complete poems. These are just, things I'm just like trying, right? So I'm going to start reading from Zikr. So Zikr is a collection that highlights the themes that I feel often creep up in my work, which is family, grief. I suppose these are just the general things all poets actually really write about, love, living, suburbia, if you live in the suburbs, memory. I think for me, memory is really important. So the first one I'm going to read is called My Grandmother Leaves a Voicemail. My grandmother leaves a voicemail. You're always busy. You never phone. Crepe paper hands tap the receiver against her ear. I hear that metronome of age. Through the line, I listen to her record of the frail betrayal of nerves, the pain in her knees, her back, oh, now also in her fingers, all those weary places, wearier still without me, the granddaughter always too busy to give her a call. Until one afternoon, when there's canned pilchard curry cooking at the neighbors, and I remember after school buttered toast, sugar in the inkomazi, Maskana biscuits hot from the oven, onions and cloves coloring the oil, and a generous, unshakable woman. Then I phone my grandmother and ask her for the recipe. This next poem is called Morning. Before the birds is the ebbless tide of the highway. I'm just far enough away for the sound to be pleasant, swathed in goose down, Egyptian cotton, and electric blanket, close to the hoarseness of the hadidas and the twisting calls of a songbird I cannot name. The day is just about to glow. Across the road, men are arriving for morning prayers. The air is still singed from Friday's fire on the ridge. The lightest of its smoke crept through our windows, left threads of ash on the sills, its incense caught in the curtains. This next poem is called The Good Life. Good girls clean chickens, love their grannies, marry well, cry in cupboards, dust under dresses, don't visit empty-handed. Good girls want their children, go on beach holidays, Google recipes for red velvet, make biryani for 50, thread just the bottom of their brows, make Juma lunch. Good girls come like in the movies, wax until they shine, swallow on demand, hum within reason, don't scratch their pots, put up with a hell of a lot. So I lost my dad when I was quite young. I was about 6 years old, and a lot of the poems in Zikr sort of have to do with, sort of like processing that grief. And this is one of those poems. This one's called Hagiography. Hagiography. That you died when you did, I don't mind anymore. At 6, it was too much. At 29, I can take it. Talk about perfect timing. I never got around to hating you. The way I speak of you, incense offerings off my tongue, you generous man, faultless, holding dolls who talk when you push their hearts, day glow dinosaur bones. I wear your skinny Bob Marley ties and fedora, your spongy ears soaking up sob stories, fabled and for real. People say we're too soft, but we just like to listen. I no longer grudge what you've passed on to me. Your bold nose, this clefted chin, the way our smiles make dashes for eyes. It's like you had to go so I could take your place. This next poem is called I the Divine, and I took the title from a book by Rabbi Alameddin. I the Divine. 1. My hands are not big enough to grasp prayer, my tongue not loose enough to utter them. 2. When I prostrate, it is knees pressed against chest, forehead taped to the ground. This sajda is a sealed offering. 3. I take the wire from 3 paper clips and shape them to look like abstract forms in prayer. As their pliancy molds into poses of submission, so I sculpt the acceptance of my form. 4. It is a godly act to bend. This next one is called The Flea Market Clown, and it's just a memory that I have. We're at Broomer Lake Flea Market, and I know this clown from Saturday morning TV. He asks for a kiss, just one on his cheek, and when I bend to him, he turns the trick. There I meet his rubbery pout, breath sugary with booze, and needles on my chin. This poem is called Plats. I'm actually gonna, this one's interesting because I had someone translate it into Afrikaans. So I think, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think I'll do it anyway. I'll read the English and then I'm just gonna quickly look for the, sorry, I'm just looking for it quickly online and I'll tell you who the the translator was Elmarie Viljoen Massane. Okay, so let me read the English first. Plats. We fail little girls by not presenting them with the alternatives. Think of a waist that is a plait, pulled and oiled and loving Tokyo'd. God handed down to us the knowledge of scissors. To think I could have been as free as Abdul from across the road. So this one is the Afrikaans translation by Elmarie Viljoen Massane, sorry. Vlegsels. Dogtertjies word in die steek gelaat deur ons wat geen opsies aan hulle bied nie. Dink aan die verspilling van 'n vlegsel, getrek en geolie en geloving Tokyo. God het aan ons die kennis van 'n sker gegee. om te dink ek sou so vry kon wees, soos Abdul oorkant die straat. This next poem that I'm going to read is called What Am I to Do? And this poem was actually written around 2017, I think, because Zikr came out in 2018. And it actually had the impetus for this poem was actually what was going on in Gaza at that time. So what's going on now is just the, I don't know, it's we know that this has been happening for a long time. And it's just that there's more attention on it now. And it just feels like it's the worst it's ever been. So this one's called What Am I to Do? What am I to do with these strange women holding up dolls bloodied on my screen, unraveling mummies embalmed in dust, pixels swaddled in strips of calico, with crying fathers and the bricks of bodies, the litter of limbs strewn about feeds, filling the cache behind my eyes at night, I dream of disk era. When I put my brow to the ground and begin to download or upload, or whatever it is we do when we ask God to start over. This next poem is called Burning Rituals for New Year. That particular smell of hair on fire, dead, but life itself is singeing, sweet and acid in one lick. I know someone who burns to clear her energies. My people tend to bury instead, they say. Never put the crescents of your nails or past blood in the bin. Someone could use your biology against you. I don't care for dark ways, just how best to honor what we discard of ourselves willingly or not. All the things hair remembers, the proof of where we're from. This one is called Birds of Prey. Certain hawks in Australia drop flaming twigs on dry areas to scare out their food with the fires. This is the only way he knows how. He holds a match to your skin and waits. You walk from room to room holding fish in your jaw. I come from women who stayed because of what they thought people would say. The children of these men hate having their picture taken because photographs are too honest about lineage. So my mother's joined us on the Zoom, and actually wasn't going to read this poem, but because she is here, I will read it for her. And it's called Ummi, and Ummi is the Arabic word for my mother, Ummi. Would just mean mother. If it's got an E at the end, it's like, it means mine. Yeah. Ummi. 1. Softer than stone and stronger, has run between Safa and Marwa for as long as I breathe. She has lived 5 times over, moving from mountain to mountain, carrying my heart above her own. A mother's song is lament and prayer. 2. I slept on the shoulders of her lullaby stitched with shahada, her Allahu, Allahu, wound around the thumb in my mouth. In the car, we rode to Tracy Chapman, Dolly Parton, on the back of the Buffalo Soldier. We sang together until I grew to the age where a musical mother is embarrassing. I switched off the radio. A mother's song is loss and yearning. 3. Still, in those fumbling, static years, she kicked up dust, searched for water in the valleys, waiting for the slow, sloughing sandpaper of time to soften our notes, till the day my parched throat cracked, and from it a voice like her own deep resonance, on key, just slightly off pitch, a song that carried and carried. At my mother's feet gushed the springs of home and hereafter. In this poem, I make reference to Safa and Marwa, and these are 2 mountains in Saudi Arabia that play a very important role in the rites of pilgrimage. And what was kind of interesting about this was the year that my mother performed her Hajj. And part of the Hajj ritual is this running between Safa and Marwa. And it was like I'd written a poem, and it kind of like was a sort of a, not a prophecy of what she would do, but it was kind of like a wish that I had for her, that she herself would get to do this ritual, and she did it. So that's all I have from Zikr. I think there's a few more, but I feel like I read them the last time around. Let me read. Okay, let me read this one. It's called Losing. Every night is an accounting. 100 calories in the breakfast banana. The egg white omelette makes up 300. 215 the soup with croutons. 400 portion for supper. Tea plain and black before bed. Before I sleep, I then take stock of every single step. The minutes on the treadmill I have done to outrun myself. Every night I weigh up how much I'll be worth in the end. So that's that from Zikr. I've also got some other poems. This one was actually published in New Contrast in the latest issue, and it's called Conversations with My Cysts. It's related to my diagnosis of polycystic ovarian syndrome. Conversations with my cysts. I have a friend who hangs well-meaning crystals around the angels on her shoulders, and she tells me I must speak to my cysts, that I must tell them I love them, and like the children they displace, they will soon know enough to let me go. I can't say that I feel much for these sacks of fluid in my ovaries, except that they are kind of baggage. And the closest I get to dialogue is a mental image of bubble wrap being popped for the stress. How does one articulate with cysts, stupid in their vagaries, and ask, when did the salt of my eyes migrate to a space so deep inside? I place my hands over the skin where I think they lie, and in crouched, awkward akimbo, I begin to lecture, not converse, because despite the research of sugar and being sedentary, I gave no invitation to squat in me. So everyone wrote COVID poems, because what else did we have to do between baking banana bread and just trying to survive? So this one's called One More Poem About the Science of Sourdough Starters. One more poem about the science of sourdough starters. I will not mix equal parts flour and water in a jar and wait for the yeast to arrive. Via the atmosphere, though some science suggests that there are also microbes on one's skin to consider. I kill 99% of anything living on my hands. I don't breathe outside anymore. When there's no trust in the air, who'd want any of all that in their bread? There's another one about COVID, and this one is called We Have Lost. My mother writes the names of everyone who's passed on since last year. These times are the strangest to now. Lists to aid mourning, more deaths than grocery trips. Our friends are losing their parents. Our parents are losing their friends. We are losing our friends. What to say to make it less? Soundless, nothing words. Sepulchre for a throat. There is no getting used to grief in compound form. Loss upon loss without pause. But here we are. What to pray for? Can you still breathe in a time of fetid air enough to write out our lists of love? I'm just trying to check which other ones I can read for you. Okay, these are some sort of newer poems, works in progress, that type of thing. And this one is called My Brother's House. My brother's house. My brother, this house you left us for mourning in is a breathing thing. It takes the grieving in through a greedy mouth. Choose them up in the living room where you lie. This bereft peristalsis pulses them into the guest wings, where the villi of the Persian rugs absorbs condolences for our nutrition. My brother, your people are all gone now. There is no one left to juice, no fiber to push through. This house, it hungers and it wails. It has never known its court to be this hollow. Who will buy it when it is like this? When it shudders to the bricks, the only thing left, the rising damp. This one is called Fathers Love Your Sons. Fathers love your sons. After the first fallen tooth, after the scraping of knees, fathers love your sons beyond the breaking of toys and the whistling cracks in their throats. Love them beyond the shadows on their chins and the boys on their walls. When you can no longer carry them, this is when you must hold them. When they make your mistakes, when your wisdom gets too small, love them when they leave you, when their choices are not yours. This one's a very recent poem in response to some of the worst that we've heard out of Gaza, and it's called Life Lesson. Life Lesson. Now, I'm too much of a coward to try for at least one child. It will mean having to develop a lesson plan for the valuation of human life. I will have to teach that not all weigh the same, and this assessment is no constant measure, that on a Monday, their estimation is priceless, and by Friday, their blood may as well be the stuff left in a bucket after a chicken is cleaned. I myself fail this course again and again. Keeping in this theme, I wrote a poem about Palestine. Oh, this was like quite a few years ago, and it's called The Histogram of the Bereft. Cousin mothers, they tell me your grief can be photoshopped. Blood when dry is RGB 8620. The blood of children, RGB 11602. A hue that jokes of life before it renders and clots. Pile up rubble with the pattern stamper, layer with custom shapes, an arm, a piece of leg, some unidentifiable tissue for depth. You could even layer via cut and hide children in the UN school. Sweep over the history brush, and back when beds were safe, Tahrir, Ikram, Samar, Dunya, and Johar, scratching the sleep from their eyes. Edit, clear. Wake up, Aya. Wake up, Aya. Didn't they tell you it's just propaganda? Wake up, Aya. That is not your heart on the floor. Okay, sure, guys. Sorry, there's a bit of a, yeah. I'm going to end with another work in progress, and this one is called, so I don't really have a title for this poem, but it's sort of linked to the losing poem, which had to do with like calorie counting and weight loss. So I'm sort of calling it foie gras or fatty liver for now. And I'm still working on this, so please pardon, it is a work in progress. Oh, the praise there is for the fat husband. How he is lauded wherever he goes. Oh, what love is his fill for suppers and snacks. See how his belly swells from devotion. Ah, he is lucky, lucky, this fat husband, to have such a good life and a pretty, pretty wife. And her, that other man's fat wife, how is it that the larger she gets, the more she matches the ecru on the dining room walls? Do you even see her, the fat wife? She has let herself go, so much so we can't even find her. And yeah, guys, that's what I have for you. Cool. I'm happy to answer questions, comments, any of that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Saaleha. Yeah. perhaps before we do this part of the reading, maybe let's just give Saaleha a round of applause for all of that. If you want to just put your mics on for a second.
How do I put my video on?
Right
there.
next to the mute.
Oh, the thing is there.
Oh.
Change the view. Right, so a round of applause for Saaleha.
I just want to one second. I just want to show you where we are. Oh, how do I take
Oh.
the background? Oh, sorry. I wanted to show you. We like actually sitting at a restaurant, and we brought you specifically my laptop along so that we could watch you. I don't know.
Oh, how cool!
Sorry.
Oh, thank you so much.
How do I take this background off?
Oh, those
today?
people. Oh, that's you. Is that you at the back? You in front of yourself. What's happening there?
It's
It's got a blurred background, but I'm trying to
Oh no,
take it away.
it's like it's your Zoom setting. I don't know where that is.
Yes.
Somewhere there.
Oh,
You've got like a phantom hand on your shoulder. Who does the hand belong to?
oh, it's
Oh,
it's month anniversary date night. So my husband is with
sweet.
me.
Oh, very sweet, very sweet. That's
Sorry.
lovely.
So we're like literally in a restaurant. Oh, you can't see very nicely, but yeah.
beautiful.
So cool.
Thank you. Yeah, round of applause for Saaleha.
Oh, was anyone like thingy?
Wonderful. So if you do have a question or a comment, you can raise your hand. Alternatively, you can write it in the chat box and I'll do my best to read it. That sounds good. Okay. Now I'll just go in the order of the raised hands. Jacques has a question or comment.
Well, Saaleha, I really loved your reading.
Thanks, Jacques.
I'm really moved by it. I look forward to seeing the new poems as well. I don't know if this is a comment or question really, but I think it's a question. What I think I heard in the poems is, on the one hand, there's this desire to be held, to be contained by something nurturing that is remembered, by something like family, something like tradition. And on the other hand, there's this desire to be unbound, to break out of it. It's just a wonderful tension that I feel at the heart of these poems. And I don't know if you want to say something about it. I mean, because it feels like more of a comment, but it's something that I always love about your work.
So when I think about what you're saying, I feel like it's also because I feel like I'm part of a very sort of like close, tight-knit kind of community. And that comes with both advantages and disadvantages. Advantages in the sense that, like you say, there's that feeling that you will always be held, you will always be sort of looked after. There's a safety in that. But also in that same sense, there's also a little bit about, okay, it's also a conservative community. And obviously we don't live in a conservative world. We are all, I mean, we grow up and then we're exposed to different points of view and we change and we grow and that kind of thing. So there's also that where you kind of want to maintain the respect of the people who love you and care for you. and that at the same time also, you know, sort of seek out that freedom to be who you truly are. But there is something truly special about community, I think, and I think if you have that, it's such a privilege.
Yes.
And I think I want to recognize that in my work as well, because also growing up, I wasn't exposed to a lot of poetry that was written by like people from my background, or even, I mean, you know, we all the poetry we did in school was all like, it was like, okay, Shakespeare's cool in the sense that, I mean, you get that gamut of human experience and stuff, but it was also a very European, very Western sort of like outlook on things. And there were very, very few poets of color that I read growing up. It was only in matric when we did like a module on protest poetry, when suddenly we were exposed to like the Shabir Banubais and the Sarotes and the Materas and that. And like I said, that was from a module of protest poetry. We didn't really see the other stuff they wrote, which was about love and you know,
Yes.
family and that kind of thing. So for me, I think why I also write these kinds of poems is I feel even in our sort of like differences, even though we come from different backgrounds and cultures, and you know, there's all the sense of like the other, but at the same time, we all have these same familial connections, the wanting to belong, the wanting to break out, the wanting to just be. And I think that's why I sort of like keep going back to those themes, you know, family, memory, death, life, because I mean, that's what everyone has to deal with. Yeah.
So it's beautiful. I mean, you take ordinary things like that and you make them extraordinary because of the way you write about them.
Ah, thank you.
And I love the poem Losing, where you kind of you're measuring things with
Oh,
small.
the calories, and then you look at your fitness watch and it tells you how many calories you burned for the day. Oh, it's a whole story that. I see in the chat. Oh, Ava wants me to read Coming of Age. Can I read that one as well?
Of course, please do.
Okay, so that one is in Zikr as well. Where was
And
that?
thank you.
Oh, Comings of Age, yeah, number 45. This one's sort of like a prose poem. I'm actually trying to write a bit more of these sort of prose poem things. I always battle with like line breaks, and I feel like a prose poem sort of, you know, helps me with like trying to ignore my challenges with line breaks for a little while. So this one is called Comings of Age. The first time I ate an ant, it tasted sharp against my tongue. The first time I bled from the head was when it connected with the back of a swing at Zoo Lake. I looked white enough to get into the hospital ward, but my name turned them against me. There was another hospital and my first x-ray. I looked up at a light, my neck cradled by a pillow filled with beans. The second time I bled from the head, I fell off the back of a truck. The first boy who liked me first drove a purple Beetle, called me every night, and it was so boring. The first boy I liked looked like Michael J. Fox. We had a high school English teacher who was perpetually pregnant. I ate fish cakes after attending my first Christian funeral. At my uncle's funeral, I remember thinking how odd God must think us, Muslims at a service for a Catholic man at a Hindu crematorium. The first time I ate oysters, I didn't know it was cruel to chew them. They pull back in their shells when you poke them. Tip back and swallow, better stomach acid than the gnash of teeth. My father tried to teach me chess. I learned the names of the pieces and their positions on the board. He died before I learned their moves. I played drafts with my grandfather. When my grandfather started using machines for breath, I would lay out his clothes every evening for the next day until there wasn't one. He had 3 tiered hangers for organizing his trousers by color. His room smelt like rose water and leg wounds. My grandmother smoked cigarettes only when it rained. I once asked my mother what sex was all about, and she said it's when a man and a woman get close. I used to skim through copies of Moles and Boons at the public library just to get to the scenes. Thanks.
Beautiful. Wow. I do like what Jacques said about the wonderful tension, but at the same time, the poems have this. Well, particularly the poems from Zikr have this conversational tone. And sometimes they're conversations with the self, past self, your child self, your future self. And from that we can gauge the, the potential, the archival potential of poems or poetry. So would you say that Zikr is, a personal archive?
I think so, because for me, even it comes through in the title, which zikr is like the Arabic word for for remembrance, or for recitation, or for repetition. And a lot of these poems are sort of based on memory. It's either my memory or someone else's memory. So my stories, someone else's stories. And I did feel it important to have these on a paper. So now I can say that there is this book out there, and someone who is maybe from a similar background to me, or maybe even someone who isn't, but who will find, some of these like touch points of similarity, will be able to pick up Zikr and be like, oh, hey, these are people I know, see themselves on the page a bit. So yeah, very, very much I feel a personal log, without being like an outright sort of dear diary, this is my secret to the world kind of thing. Yeah.
In that organic, authentic way,
Yeah.
they become, they have the potential to be that for us.
Yeah.
I think there's a question in the chat box. The one, I don't know how to read your name, Skis, but Jidney didn't know you were from South Africa. Please tell us your hometown.
Oh, is that someone? I think that's like an internal, I don't know who that is. So it's the one Shinigami. She's my Instagram friend.
Okay. One Shinigami. At some of the the name isn't coming up entirely on my screen.
There we go. Oh, there's something. Oh, we saw the one Shinigami. Yeah, we saw.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
She wants to know if you tell her your hometown, or tell Junaid your hometown.
Oh, I don't know who's Junaid that's here. I have no idea. I can't. So well, my hometown is a small town in Johannesburg called Azadville, which is on the West Rand, between Krugersdorp and Kagiso. Really tiny town. Yeah. The West Rand. Also very, very religious town. There's like, for a town that size, it's got like 4 mosques, 2 temples. I think there's a church as well. So yeah, fairly representative, I think. But yeah, very, very, very tiny town. Yeah. Always takes forever to get there, and you just can't wait to move out, so you'll be closer to anything. You need to join love clubs and all that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, she's talking about her husband. Yeah. Oh, Ian's asking, who do I read and admire? Sure, I think I read so broadly. Currently, I actually I'm reading through a copy of Billy Collins' Aimless Love. I like his voice. It's there's like a sweetness to it. And this one in particular, I think also has a bit of that sort of memoir feel. I also like Sharon Olds, Louise Glück. Sure, there's like a lot. When you need to read the grocery list of who it is you read, you can't really remember. But yeah. I actually just want to get back to actually reading more poetry and just being able to like sit with work and just, I think when things get too heavy, poetry is the best place to just go and hide in for a while. Yeah. Before you're ready to, do things.
Do you find that the more you read, the more you write, that sort of thing.
Yes, actually. I was telling a friend that it's a lot like, you know, when you eat before a workout, like they tell you to have coffee or bananas or something.
Yeah.
I think it does actually put you in the right frame of mind. And I know when I don't read, I don't write, and I actually don't feel good. Like, because then I'm wasting my time. I'm like watching TV, and that's very sort of like, you know, junky. Even if it's good TV, it's still, you know, it's not great. It's like drinking smoothies. It's like I'm not really processing. I'm just, you know, even if there
Yeah.
is some sort of nutrients in there, it's not great. But you know, the problem is now because we are also sort of like screen fixated. I'm actually like I battle with actually like looking at paper and words for like long stretches of time. It's something I need to actually like train myself back into doing because we're so quick. I mean, I was reading like books on my phone, like on Kindle and stuff, but I'm feeling like I need to just read on paper again as opposed to these, you know, these apps. Yeah. Even though Kindle is great, but like, yeah, it's a different thing. I think your brain just shifts. It's the same thing like typing out versus actually writing with pen on paper, I feel. Yeah. Mm.
No, relatable.
Ish,
That's
yeah.
very relatable. I like to remember that, you know, the things that we're consuming, yeah, they
Mm, mm.
over consuming, perhaps they or it needs to sit somewhere in the body, so that restlessness has its, you know, it's a
Mm.
symptom of something else.
Yeah.
But yes. Any last pressing questions, comments for Saaleha before we say thank you? Do you have a favorite poem
A
from your
favorite poem,
collection?
like my own of my poems. Ah, I think I like the ones I write about my grandmother, actually. Um, let's oh, there's so many. You know, they're like all your children, right? Which ones? I I always feel I need to write happier poems, man. Sometimes they're a bit too sad. But I actually quite like The Good Life. I enjoy reading it. And it seems to make people happy. Well, even though it's I mean the themes aren't exactly I mean it's about women trying to live up to expectations and things like that. But I think just if I look at it tonally, I just like I like reading it. I like reading The Good Life. So that's the one where good girls clean chickens, love their grannies, marry well, cry in cupboards. Yeah, that one. I do enjoy reading that one. Yeah. Mm. Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Then I think that might be it for now. I hope you consider staying for the open mic.
I
I think.
will. I hope people are
You
going to be
do.
reading things. Yeah. What time
Yeah,
will it be? Yeah.
we'll just have like a 5-minute break,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, we usually just keep our mics on and continue chatting, that
Cool.
sort of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Obviously, there's no pressure. Okay, Saaleha, Bamjee, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
everyone.
time.
Thank you so much for joining in. This was great. Yeah. Really enjoyed it.
The video will be available on YouTube and some other place, I'm sure, very soon. It goes there, I think, in no time. So if
Awesome.
anyone, if you know of anyone who couldn't attend tonight, there is that. But I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you for your time, for your presence,
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
craft.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
All right.